Good evening. It's a beautiful day here, and we are happy to join you once again with this all-important show, Opposing Views, right here on MX24 television. It's a wet day. We are all wet today, and so let's take it slow and rather cool. Except that there are other things that are of some premium relevance. So today we want to pay a bit of attention to that right here on Opposing Views. My name is Kwabena Chencheni Boateng, and again, as I usually do, I welcome you to the show. Thank you for taking time off to join us. Today, we want to pay attention to security, and it's coming on the back of quite a number of things which happened over the weekend and in the last few days, actually, in the month of August, because security has been on top of the agenda. Mind you, we had a new acting IGP, as announced by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in the person of George Akuffo-Dampare. He took office this month, because today is the last day of the month. So this month he did take office, and so a lot has happened, from reshuffles here and there to bringing this one in, doing a lot more night patrol, doing all kinds of things to ensure that you and I are safe. Except that a number of people continue to say they are not very safe, and I'll show to you some statistics which is available now, which suggests a number of violent crimes which have been happening in the past several days, particularly in the month of August. So do stay with us right here on Opposing Views. But more importantly, if you are home and you have security concerns, whether in your neighborhood, whether on a stretch that leads to a particular area that you usually use, whether you're a commuter and you've taken note of a particular route where there are quite a number of problems there, as far as security is concerned, please stay tuned and get ready to join us, because we're going to have the police join us today and answer all your questions. I can't hope to have all the questions you would want to ask, and so please take notes and just put down your questions. We will announce the phone lines. Once the police joins us, we'll allow you to ask them all those relevant questions, because again, it's about your security and it's about my security. When we return from this break, we delve into the data and then hear from the police as to what is happening in keeping you and I safe. Stay with us.
The news that matters the most is the news that hits closest to home. Politics, business, lifestyle, entertainment, whatever. Once it breaks, we are there.
If it touches you, your family, your community, or your safety, we've got it covered.
You need to know what is happening in and around Ghana and on the international scene.
This is MX24 News.
Jack, information will reassure, and the way information they, that be why you for join me on MX24. See, wherever the topics they, the stories they on social media, we are going to comb through the annals of the internet. We will disintegrate all the topical issues on social media. You see, when it comes to social media, you know how we do it, right? So yes, join the conversation, because you know what, it is about to go down.
Hello guys, and welcome to Home Fit. Home Fit is a fitness show designed to take care of all your fitness needs. I'm your trainer Brad, and I will be taking you through a series of workouts. After a great workout, let's talk nutrition.
Okay, so many thanks for staying with us right here on MX24 television. Like I said, my name is Kwabena Chenchen, and this is Opposing Views. You're transmitting live from our studios right here at Silicon Square, close to the MX24 roundabout, and we have a lot for you today. Okay, like I mentioned just before the break, today we want to focus on security. I don't know whether you are safe, whether you feel safe, and all the things that have been said, the politicization of certain things that have been said about whether or not the police force is even up to the task, and whether or not this new IGP is going to be that breath of fresh air that many have anticipated, as to whether or not things will go as planned for a lot of people. Well, we cannot tell, except that we need to live in optimism. But what usually does not rely so much on optimism has to do with data. And so let's start by taking a look at the data. Let me let you know, though, that we are going to have the Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, Superintendent Alexander Kweku-Obeng. He will join us today, and he will answer all your questions. And so please, like I said, if you have any security concern, please take note that we're going to open the phone lines early enough so that you can call in and ask. There have been a number of highway robberies in the past few weeks or so. Please, if you ply any of these routes and you have noticed any such significant incident, please take note. Once we open the phone lines, you can put your questions through to Superintendent Alexander Obeng, who will then help us deal with those issues. Again, we're going to have Mutaro Mukhtar Mumuni, a security analyst with the West Africa Center for Counter-Terrorism, as well as Adib Sani, who is a security analyst. They will help us gauge quite a lot of things, including the state of the country's security as things stand now. Okay, now let's take a look at the data. Now, I'm going to start by sharing a particular data which is available right now online, and it has to do with the crime index in Ghana from 2014 to 2021. Mind you, 2021 is just half year through, and so the figure there is synonymous with the half year numbers. But if you take a look at it from 2014 up until now, it appears as though that 2018 is when we actually recorded the lowest crime rates in the country. 2018. Now, if you fast forward to 2021, which is now, there's a marginal drop in crime from 48.9% to 48.52%. These are statistics for the first half of the year, mind you, January to June. But of course, there's a marginal drop. So from 48.97 to 48.52. Again, this information is available on crime index in Ghana from 2014 to 2021. Okay, I wanted to share this with you first. Now, when you take a look at this picture, it suggests to you that crime has actually gone down. And this is actually accurate, because if you take a look at the report put out by the Bureau of Public Safety, you remember on the show some time back we even spoke to Nanayo Akwada when they had churned out that report. It has suggested that crime had actually gone down. However, violent crimes are on the increase, are on the rise. And so let me take you to that very report by the Bureau of Public Safety, which gives us a breakdown of the crime rates. So yes, generally we agree crime has gone down by a 0.02% or so margin. However, if you take a look at the data as put out by the Bureau of Public Safety, it suggests quite a number of things. Now, they summarize everything in their report into 10 pillars. Well, actually more. But what I want to focus on will be the 10 pillars, which is synonymous with crime. Because the report also talks about issues of road traffic crashes and the like, law enforcement, and then a few things. It gives its conclusions also, and maybe a few things that maybe the police service or the police force will have to pay attention to. But let's take a look at this. The highlights of that very report suggest this. For violent crimes, take a listen to this. Now, violent crimes reported has increased from 183 in year 2020 to 220 in year 2021, representing a 20% increase. Mind you, this data is as current as June 2021, right? So 20% increase. Okay. The top 5 most reported violent crimes are murder or manslaughter, armed robbery, assault, burglary, and suicide cases. 2. Firearm use in the commission of violent crimes has increased by 79% over the same period in 2020. This means 74% of reported armed robbery cases involved the use of firearms, as well as 20% of homicide involved firearms. So, mind you, 79% of all of these violent crimes involve the use of a firearm. Okay, point 3. More than 80% of violent crimes occurred outside of the place of abode or homes of victims. These include roads and highways, offices, business, trade spaces, places of worship, and other transitional spaces. Means that a lot of crime is happening, except that they are not happening in the homes. A significant number of these criminal activities are happening either in people's workplaces or on the highways or in people's offices or people's places of worship or any other transitional space, but not so much so in people's places of abode as in their residences. Okay. Then again, it goes on to say more than 95% of armed robbery incidents occurred outside of home, and 76% of murder or manslaughter cases were also reported to have occurred out of home. Again, this links directly to the previous one I read to you. Now, violent crime deaths reported increased from 134 in year 2020 to 171 in year 2021, representing a 28% increase. Again, more females, which is 59%, were reported as victims to murder or manslaughter cases, while 81% of males were reported as victims of armed robbery events. And then also, let me go through this quickly now. Most reported armed robbery incidents occurred in the Greater Accra region, forming 24% of all armed robbery cases, and the Ashanti region followed with 16% of incidents. Then it says also that 50% of all property crimes reported for the period occurred in the Greater Accra region. Okay, let me leave it at that. 8 points, which I share with you, and which I hope that has given you a bit of an understanding as to why we want to pay a bit of attention to this, because the statistics are quite staggering and they appear to paint a certain picture. Okay, and so while all of these were reported, we had an IGP whom, when we asked specific questions of as far as our safety is concerned, suggested that, well, the only place where there is no such crime or crime doesn't happen is heaven, and Ghana is no heaven. And so when we are seeing or hearing of criminal activities, it is because we are not in heaven. Of course, there was a lot of hue and cry after those comments and a few other comments he may have made. And the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, went ahead to remove him from that very position and has placed George Akuffo Dampare as the acting IGP. This was in August, the beginning of August. That's when he took office. Now, when he took office, a lot happened, from reshuffling here and there, putting people in certain places, increasing police visibility, going on some patrols himself, quite a number of things. We have footage of some of these things, which we'll even share with you in a short while. But Also, in the month of August, a lot has happened. Let me take you through about 7 very, very notable things that have happened in the month of August since the new IGP took office. Now, on August 9, 3 notorious armed robbers, Aka Christian Roberts, Al-Hassan and Alaji, who have been on the police wanted list, were shot dead by the police in a shootout at Opebia with 2 other accomplices arrested. Okay. 2 men were killed at Wasadjabo in the Western region. This was on August 18. Now, on August 21, police in Sunyani began investigations into a murder case at Abesim. On August 24, the Criminal Investigations Department, headquarters team investigating the Abesim murder case, discovered a place where suspect Richard Apia had buried the intestines of one of the murder victims. You remember the story of somebody who had killed some people and put some of their body parts in his fridge? Well, yeah, that's the story. On 27th August, there was a story about how a 13-year-old had been defiled at Asin Breku. The police gave us an update on that. They suggested that 3 persons were now in their custody for allegedly defiling that 14-year-old lady. So, a bit of an update there. These are 5 notable things. Let me add 2 more. 13-year-old defiled and father allegedly butchered. This happened at Gomwa at Zintem. Again, the update on this is that the headsmen who allegedly perpetrated this act have been arrested in a special police operation which was carried out by the formed police unit. And then the final one will be the fact that, and this was on Monday, August 23, that robbers may have, well, yeah, they actually killed an international journalist who was traveling in the bus. Also, there were other things such as the 2 suspected armed robbers killed. And this is in direct relation to this international journalist who was murdered, allegedly. So the 2 suspected armed robbers have been killed and 4 others have been arrested on the Kintampo Bupe Tamale Highway. Also, 2 suspected armed robbers have been killed and 4 others busted for their alleged involvement in some robberies and murder cases along the Kintampo Bupe Tamale Highway. So, if you look at it all in all, there appears to be some good news because the police force appear to be working. Maybe I'm wrong. What do I know? Let's speak to the experts. Adib Sani is a security analyst and he's been gracious enough to join us now. He's with us on Zoom. Adib, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Adib can't hear me. So let's start with Mutaro Mukhtar Mumuni. Like I said, he's a security analyst and he's with the West Africa Center for Counter-Terrorism. Mukhtar, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Let me start by asking, when you see the data and you take a look at all the things that have been happening in the month of August, particularly on the back of the appointment of George Dampare as acting IGP, what kind of picture does it paint to you? Mukhtar, can you hear me? Okay, I think your thing is still on mute. So if you could unmute, maybe. Wow. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Yes, can you have the question again? Please?
Yes. So I showed some statistics which had suggested that, well, crime was on the decline, though marginally, though. A Bureau of Public Safety report, however, suggests that even though crime is on the decline, violent crimes have gone up rather significantly to the extent that over 79% of these violent crimes are being perpetrated with guns, rifles, and the like. However, in August, in the past few days or weeks in August, there appears to be quite a number of activities, particularly on the part of the police, to either arrest people, shoot and kill some robbers, or do one thing or the other. What kind of picture does this paint to you from your perspective as a security analyst? Is it the case that perhaps we are beginning to get things right as far as security is concerned?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Right.
Good evening to you and to your cherished viewers.
Right.
Well, security, as we all know, it's a key and important issue that should concern every one of us. And in very brief terms, we've seen how the security services, the Ghana Police Service in particular, has been challenged in terms of dealing with current security trends and, the factors around it. And the appointment of the new IGP today seemed to have brought in a new sense of enthusiasm, a new spirit of commitment, and some sort of, hope that things are beginning to change. But is that too quick to say that or not? We've seen in the last couple of weeks very, very regular and consistent engagement of the security services through, the issue of statements and reports relating to the operations and successful apprehension or, targeting of criminals involved in crime. So obviously, there's some good happening within the security front with the appointment of the new IGP. Some may ask questions regarding the fact that does it mean the sort of things we're seeing? We're seeing a lot of crimes that are being brought to the fore within the public, the media. Does that mean an increase in crime? Or does that mean, there's more commitment to dealing with crimes than before? We would be able to answer these questions with data, with statistics, if we had statistics that are comprehensive enough to deal with security in this country. And in the absence of data, what we're seeing is a sense of, hope and commitment that something different and something more serious would be done within the security front for this country.
Interesting. Again, when we take a look at the data, it talks about 70% of such crimes, the violent crimes I speak of, being perpetrated with all of these weapons, particularly rifles. How worrying of a trend is this, really?
Surely, the use of, guns and weapons of that kind should be a worrying situation for all of us, because with that, there's the intent to not only rob, but to harm and possibly kill or maim. And that should worry all of us. And it points to challenges relating to our management of arms and small weapons in this country. Of course, if we look at the data from the Small Arms, Commission, it paints a very, very bleak situation for us in terms of the circulation of small arms and light weapons. Weapons that are not, legal in possession of civilians. Even that, the atmosphere may be even bleak or bleaker if we were to have very, current statistics relating to that. Because the statistics we're referencing relates to a study that was done over 6 years ago. And so if we were to have current statistics, we may be talking about a more dangerous situation for this country. And so it's important that we consider the statistics that are coming out as a wake-up call, as a bleak reminder of the reality of circulation of small arms and light weapons in the hands of citizens. And that, ties into the already existing vulnerabilities relating to issues of youth unemployment and the chances that young people could take to crime with the ready availability of arms.
Let's hear from Adib Sani, who is also joining us now. Adib is a security analyst. Adib, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, my brother.
Right, good to have you as usual. We have been taking a look at some statistics as pertains to crime rates in the country in the past. Well, we did a 5-year analysis, but we've zoomed in to this particular year, and the data available suggests that crime rates may have dropped rather marginally, less than 1% though. But of course, some say it's early days yet. It's just 6 months into the year, so we could do much, much better, or if we are not very fortunate, perhaps we could do worse by the time the year comes to a close. However, one teething problem which we have identified is that even though the crime rate has gone down, a lot more people are being violent when it comes to crime, and a lot of crimes are being perpetrated with guns. This new IGP has come in with his approach and the like, and many have hailed him for one thing or the other. The statistics I just shared again from August 9 up until August 23 suggest a number of interventions by the police as far as some of these criminal activities are concerned. Is this enough to give the public the needed confidence that perhaps we are on the right track to getting things fixed as far as security is concerned?
The first appointment was the National Security Minister, which was obviously indicative of the importance the president attached to the issues of security. For the first time in the history of the country, we have a national security strategy. The Security and Intelligence Agencies Act has been amended. Now, Bureau of National Investigation is National Intelligence Bureau, and Bureau of National Communications is National Signals Bureau. We've also had the cybersecurity policy amended. It was actually first passed in 2016, but a lot of changes has happened. And believe it or not, for the first time in the history of Ghana, we have a national cybersecurity advisor to
Adib, I think because the call came through, your microphone is off, so maybe if you could unmute again, it would greatly help us so we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Great. Yeah.
I can't hear you. I'm coming.
Adib, I can hear you. I can hear you. You can go ahead. Okay. We'll try and get Adib back on, and then he will be able to share with us a lot more, because he's been taking us through how a possible review of even the entire national security architecture could be one of the reasons why we are beginning to see a bit of an improvement as far as security is concerned in the country. And he's taking us through how there's even been a change of name, change in approach, change in even the reporting channels and the like as far as some of these are concerned. He'll take us through a bit more before we can get some responses also from the police as far as some other crimes are concerned. Adib, I think now your line is clear enough, so you can continue with the point you were making.
My apologies. Usually, before I conduct an interview, I'll put my phone on airplane. Unfortunately, today I forgot, so the calls kept coming.
Don't worry, it's fine. It happens.
Anyway, so I mean, but as a project officer, I am not too inclined to what has been done, but rather the outcome. So the question is, in the midst of all of these interventions, to what extent has it translated on the ground so far as the security of the state is concerned? I must say it's not been very progressive enough because still crime seems to be on the increase. So when we get the official figures and they tell us it's marginal, it's something that beats my imagination, because even the U.S. Department of State has categorically stated that violent crime is on the increase in Ghana. And for the first quarter of this year, you and I know full well that the murder rate went up by close to about 30%.
That's true.
And I am not also bothered with the frequency. I am bothered with the quality of the crime. These days, the robbers especially have become so vicious, they've become so audacious in the manner in which they stage their attacks. As a matter of fact, robbery used to be a nightly affair when at 2 or 3 a.m., robbers come knocking on your door wanting to steal. But these days, even in the middle of the day, at a busy market like Alaba Kumasi, we had, criminals able to, excuse me. Sorry.
Right. Okay. So Adib Sani will fix.
My brother, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Sorry, they decided to call online. That's okay.
Right.
So basically, now robberies happen in the middle of the day. They target law enforcement officers like they did in front of Las Palmas restaurant at what we call it, La Paz. It has become so serious to the extent that just recently the IGP had to dispatch some officers to some parts of the country, especially around the Bono Region area. So,
so it's good you make mention of this because I want to ask this. I've heard a lot of people ask this question, and I've heard. Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Wow. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, Adib can't hear me. We'll try and get that rectified and then get him to hear me, because I have a question to ask as far as that very issue he raised is concerned, because a lot has happened. People have been saying that a lot of the criminals in the country have been emboldened in one way or the other, to the extent that in broad daylight, sometimes in the midst of quite a number of people, they go there, wield their weapons, even in the presence of some police officials, and do whatever they want to do. As to why that is the case, I can't tell. Mukhtar, what could be the reason why criminals, people who ordinarily would even be too scared of showing their faces, will now be so bold enough to even commit such crimes, sometimes without even masks? They go ahead to do some of these things in the open, and they're like, where did we get it wrong?
Well, if you notice, if you look at the character or the nature of work of police and security agencies, their work largely is intended at deterring crime or apprehending criminals.
Right.
The work of the police service and security agencies is often not around, prevention of crime. And if you look at the issue relating to deterrence, we seem not to have been able to, communicate through security measures and prosecutions that we have enough deterrent measures to deter criminals from engaging in brazen, bold confrontation and robbery activities in our country. Like my brother Aditani mentioned, some time ago, armed robberies used to happen in the night, in the thick of the night, on highways in the night, in homes in the night. Today, we're having criminals boldly confronting people, citizens, on the streets and engaging in criminality. Robbery, daylight, citizens of their property, right, and often killing or harming them, in the process. And so it seemed to, suggest that we have not been able to create enough deterrence through the prosecutions and through, law enforcement. And that needs to be looked at seriously.
Does it appear to you, based on the sequence I listed from August 9 to August 23, does it appear to you that that situation may be changing anytime soon? Because for every crime, every major crime, 7 of them highlighted here, there appears to be an intervention by the police, if not immediately, days after, just a few days after. We are seeing some of these interventions. Is this perhaps to suggest that the trend may be changing a bit, or the tide may be turning in our favor?
It is too early for us to suggest that we would see any significant shift in terms of, the crime profile of this country. Of course, we are seeing some renewed sense of energy and some new sense of hope with the appointment of the new IGP. But we're yet to see how sustainable that would be, or how significant those measures, would impact on the general overall security profile of this country.
Right.
Violent crimes, of course, has been a feature of this country. Now we should be looking at, the numbers. We should be looking at the quality or the character of, those violent crimes. The violent crimes are not uniform. They happen in different forms in terms of intensity and character. those things can help shape our projections in terms of how the future would look like in terms of crime. But at the moment, it is too early to make any conclusive remarks about the fact that, the current measures of the police or security agencies would change anything much. As much as the police service and agencies are doing a lot of things in the scene, apprehending criminals and showing to us the pervasive activities of criminals who are seeking to wreak havoc on our lives and property, we should do much more also in terms of publicizing the deterrent measures that are taken, the prosecutions that are concluded, successful prosecutions. They are sentencing people to 12 years, 20 years, 30 years, life in prison. This sentencing and its accompanying sense of deterrence needs to be communicated more enough within the local population for people to know that these are the consequences of engaging in criminal activities. That would be a significant feature in terms of deterring criminals from engaging in criminality.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mukhtar. Let's hear now from Superintendent Alexander Obeng. He is the Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service. Superintendent, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
We are really grateful you've taken time off to join us today. There's a lot we want to ask of you. But let's start by commending the police service for all of the things we are seeing in the past few days or weeks. I just did a timeline from August 9 to August 23, and for all the major incidents, robbery incidents that happened or criminal incidents that happened, the police appear to have found a way to either apprehend people or gun down people or arrest some people, and it's good. When I hear it, it gives me some confidence. So congratulations, kudos to you and the team for such good work done. And again, also congratulations for your promotion and assignment. But let me come to the issue of the incidents, the recent incidents of road robberies and the like, because we do know that, yes, fighting crime is a two-way approach. One has to do with anticipating the crime and dealing with it even before it happens. The other has to do with being able to follow up and make the necessary arrest should it happen. That's should the first step even fail. What is happening? Why are we beginning to see such a surge in highway robberies?
Thank you very much. Right. I think, first of all, the police administration, led by the Acting Inspector General of Police, is much concerned and is acting on this mandate to enhance public health and safety and improve general security. And therefore, if you look at the 5 strategies that is driving responsibilities in terms of police service delivery currently, the police administration has employed anti-armed robbery teams, some to Ono East, some to Eastern region, and other parts of the country, in order to ensure that police is felt on the ground and focused in dealing with the current serious crimes that are happening. And we are currently involved in detecting those that within our capabilities, and most of these are intelligent-led, and irrespective of their resistance, police is doing all that can in terms of proactive strategies and reactive strategies to either make those incidents in the back or follow up to apprehend and resisting all attempts by criminal elements in either using force in order to execute and hide. And all that part is that we expect the general public to have confidence in the police and to support police in all areas of police service delivery with timely information that will assist us. We think that with the community engagement ongoing and the sensitivity going, the support of the media and our partners, we hope that as many as have intention to commit crime will refrain.
Right.
And the few that will commit will. The current history is clear indication that we do not sit on our own, but will sustain this intensified of our readiness and reacting to trees.
Okay. Sorry, Superintendent, you may have to speak up a bit because we are really struggling to hear you. We hear you speak, but we really can't make out the exact words you are churning out. But as you adjust your position a bit and perhaps your voice, what is currently being showed on your screens now, for those of you who are watching MX24 live now, you can see Superintendent Alexander Obeng holding a walkie-talkie with someone standing next to him. They are testing a few things. George Akuffo Dampare, who is the acting IGP, has been embarking on a number of sessions, patrol sessions with some of his men, and we shared those footages with you. You can see him there at a night patrol. For a number of you who are used to seeing police officers do this, you can see that the visibility has gone up quite a notch in the last few weeks. And so that's some good news for us. Superintendent, maybe we can hear you now. Kindly speak to us. Right.
As I was saying,
right.
That we have anti-armed robbery teams deployed across the country.
Across the country, okay.
The local effort of police command in Bono East region.
Okay.
And in the Eastern region.
So Bono East.
In specific certain routes that criminals have turned their attention to commit crimes, both night and day.
Okay.
And with the support of the residents, are looking out, and with the support of our intelligence teams, either preempting some of the
robbery incidents, or okay.
And then there are instances that be able to foil some of the targeted attempts and follow up to detect and arrest.
Okay, so I get the impression that you've taken note of these routes, as you suggest to me that, for instance, for the Bono East region and for the Eastern regions, you have actually taken a lot of steps to ensure that you are deploying people onto some of these notorious stretches, so that all of these violent crimes we hear of on such highways become a thing of the past. So am I correct to assume that the police has taken note of all of these hotspots and have actually gone a step further to deploy persons to such areas?
Yes, I do that, yes. And it is because of these attempts by few miscreants and hardened criminals who commit such crimes. And that's why the administration is taking that bold steps to support the local police to deploy, look out, and then arrest and follow up and all that. And what is important for all of us is that we should be forthcoming with information to support police. Again,
Right.
The media should continue to support us in disseminating this timely information to and share it with the general public so that the kind of fear that sometimes associated with this type of attack will not be there, so that Ghanaians will be able to go out there
Okay.
of their
Okay.
routine businesses, and you also send clear signal to criminals that police has positioned itself. We don't expect such to last long, and
Okay. All right. So, Superintendent, sorry. I have okay. Okay, we've lost the Superintendent Alexander Obende, who retry his line and bring him back on for a quick summary of a lot of the things he has said. Also, we'll allow Mutaro Mukhtar Mumuni, who is a security analyst with the West Africa Center for Counterterrorism, and Adib Sani, also a security analyst. We will allow them to ask him a question each. But let me hear from Adib Sani, as he has heard from the police force on all of the things we have highlighted. One of such has to do with the robbery cases on our highways and what the police is doing about it. Adib, hearing from the police as far as interventions are concerned, would you say perhaps it's a step in the right direction, deploying the force to these two regions to ensure that all of these issues are dealt with? So again, he speaks of the Blue East region and the Eastern region. Is it enough?
Well, thankfully, Judge, I have decommissioned my phone, so now we can have an interference-free conversation.
Okay.
I'm using my laptop now.
Okay, fantastic. All right.
Okay, so I think it's a giant step in the right direction, because obviously we'd need more boots on the ground, but it goes way beyond that, because mostly the armed robbers, they know the terrain more than the police.
That's true.
And so we need to be scientific, we need to be strategic in the way we go about it. I mean, they have informants all over the place. So what usually they do is when they rob, they have people giving them information. So at the point the police is moving, they have that information and they are able to tell in 15 minutes time the police would arrive.
Okay.
So within 5 minutes, they are able to do whatever they want, or 10 minutes and dissipate into thin air. And like I said, they know the area so well and you wouldn't have any idea where they have gone. They just vanish into thin air. That is why it is important, and I'm particularly excited that he has spoken about the need for intelligence. You see, sometimes you hear about a robbery incident somewhere in Tema. Then a week after that, you hear about another incident in Kumbungu in the northern region. Then another incident the following day in Kumasi. And you are tempted to think that these are localized events perpetrated by local people, okay? Meanwhile, these robberies or robbers are crime syndicates, and they are able to move from one area to another throughout the country to perpetrate their crime. So if we make an attempt to infiltrate through intelligence these crime syndicates, we should even be able to prevent it from happening in the first place. I must say, let me commend the police for a great job done during that operation at Shiashi that saw some robbers killed and some robbers arrested. So that was a textbook lesson, okay? That was a textbook operation so far as intelligence is concerned. And it's also important to understand that one of the biggest challenges we have, okay, is the response time. It's very critical.
That's true.
Because sometimes you call the police because you are not able to give them the correct direction, or because they also get confused about the direction. By the time they arrive, the criminals are long gone. That is why this doesn't have to be the work of the police alone. Other institutions also have an important role to play. Okay, the addressing system, the road network is all important, because sometimes you go to a certain area, you know this is a road, but someone will come and build block it and nobody says anything about it. So in case of an emergency, how do you expect the police to access or fire to access? Do you expect them to fly? So these are legitimate issues that really needs to be addressed, because if we are able to improve on the reporting, on the response time, we would get a lot more potential criminals disincentivized into going into it, because they would feel that if we attempt, the likelihood that we'll be caught is high. And most importantly, this is perhaps the most important of it all. If you move officers from Accra to, let's say, Bono East region, do you expect the officers to know the area more than the indigents? Of course not. That is why it is critical, very critical, to involve the people in these areas, to make them part of the security management process through the chiefs, the pastors, the imams, and other opinion leaders. Let us get the people to understand their intrinsic value so far as managing the security affairs of the area is concerned. A lot of them have information about these criminals, because they are people we eat with, we drink with, we sleep with, people we walk around, we go to beer bars with, we work with. So even if they have any reason to suspect that this person is engaged in nefarious activities, what is an activity that is inconsistent with the law, what is the motivation that would drive someone to walk to the police station and tell the police, I suspect Mr. A is an armed robber? There's no motivation. Even the witness protection regime in Ghana is very porous. It's not something to be proud of. You report to the police, the next minute, the whole community knows you are the rat amongst us. So what are we doing?
A lot of people say they don't even trust the police, and that some of these criminals even have informants within the service. And so there's no point going to report somebody or to report a crime.
That's the thing.
Only for you to become the target.
There's no motivation. You see, people are scared. Even recently, a police spokesperson around the Kaswa area lamented over the fact that people don't report crime to the police. And I found it an indictment on the police. Recently, a friend of mine was robbed. He never reported to the police. I asked why. He said, to what end? So we need to create that enabling environment for people to feel comfortable enough to report to the police anything they see happening in their communities. Okay, they know the indigents, they know the non-indigents, and there's the need for them to be part of that security management process.
Okay. Let's allow people to phone in now and share some views with us. 020-473-8481, 020-473-8481, and 055-033-1511, 055-033-1511. So again, the numbers are 020-473-8481, 020-473-8481, and 055-033-1511. We are taking a look at the security situation in the country and whether or not the recent spate of robberies, or particularly highway robberies and the like, are enough to get some of us worried, to get us turning our heads and asking, hey, what is going on? Don't worry, we are not in heaven. We are still on earth. Anyway, okay. So while we allow people to call in now, I'm told Mutaru Mukhtar has rejoined us. Is that the case? Mutaru, can you hear me? Okay. All right. So Mutaru cannot hear me. Okay, that's fine. Adib, let's try and wrap up now, though, with you. You say now that the police will have to do a lot more of intelligence gathering, and we all know that a major part of intelligence gathering is the people offering you the information, the people volunteering information. In such an instance where there's a lack of motivation on the part of a lot of people to go out there and give out some of this information, what more can the police force do to still stay ahead of the game and be able to pick up the relevant intelligence to curb some of these crimes?
Well, thankfully, we have the National Signals Bureau that is charged with signal intelligence in the country. I think when we bring them on board and get them to use their capabilities, that would help to a very large extent in breaking these robbery syndicates. Aside that, I think community engagement is important. We should engage the communities, and that's why I'm particularly also excited that the acting IGP has introduced the police horse patrols.
Right.
I think that would mean bringing police into the doorstep of the average Ghanaian, but it has to go beyond that. We have bicycles getting rotten at the central warehouse of the Ghana Police Service, bicycles that were donated to us by the U.S. Embassy. So we have to fix those bikes and encourage more officers to ride these bikes, knock on doors, knock on businesses, homes, and ask people what their menacing security challenges are and what the police can do to improve on their service as a service delivery institution. And most importantly, Chachanhini, let us invest in modern 21st century technology so far as fighting crime is concerned, even if it means the use of drone technology.
That's true. Okay, Adib, thank you. Thank you so much for your time on the show today. Adib Sani is a security analyst. He joined us with a lot of views as far as security in the country is concerned. We put out some information and then we put out some numbers also that you can call in and share the security situation with us and what you make of it and whether or not there's cause for concern. Araba is our first caller. He's joining us from the Central Regional Capital, Cape Coast. Araba, good evening.
Good evening.
Araba, let's hear you.
Hello?
Araba, let's hear you. Good evening, I can hear you.
Good evening.
Right.
Well, the security situation is very serious.
Is it the case that there are a number of robbery incidents in your area?
Some people came to my home chasing the security system is not working. The emergency places that you should call, even if there is a robbery or an incident and you want to call on the police to come, the emergency lines do not work.
I see.
Because recently, some people came to my home with guns.
Wow.
And I called a friend, a policeman that I know, and he gave me the emergency line. I called the emergency line. Nobody picked it up. Hours. It was 3 hours plus after I had called. Before somebody called me and asked me, did you call us? And I said, please, I'm not an idiot. Why are you saying, 3 hours after the incident.
Right.
And they had guns.
Right.
Shooting. My dogs were barking, and they had dogs and guns chasing rats and rabbits into my home. And I said, listen, you can't enter somebody's house like that. So go. They said, we won't go. We have our rabbits or whatever has come here.
I see.
So if they had shot anybody in the house, we don't have ambulances.
That's true. Araba, I can feel the frustration, and I can imagine the trauma you must have gone through with all of that happening. I think we'll make a personal commitment to follow up on this very issue you speak of. Maybe the producer can take the exact location offline, and then once we get in touch with Superintendent Alexander Obeng, we can draw his attention to this so that his team can also pay a bit more attention to that. But thank you so much for your call right here. Let's go to Kaswa now. Yvonne is joining us from Kaswa. Yvonne, good evening.
Good evening.
Yvonne, tell us the situation where you are.
Okay, there was a robbery, I think, months ago, and the landlady at where the robbery happened called the police, and the police told the lady that she should come there, she has to fill some forms, she has to make some payments, and whatever. And when the police said that, when you calculate everything they were saying, it was more than 500 cedis. Not only that, they would have to come to their house, of which the woman is to take the cost of the transportation and then everything. And here in the case, I remember one evening I was going to Achimota Forest. It was somewhere 9 o'clock something. I was going with an Uber driver, and when you got to a police checkpoint something, can you imagine the police just allowed us to pass through, even not looking inside the car or even not checking. The light wasn't even off. Sorry, the light in the car was even off. But they just let us go through just like that. So I think they should really do something about themselves before coming up to the crowd to actually tell us something like that.
Okay.
So that is all that I have.
Yvonne, thank you so much for calling. Yvonne joined us from Kaswa. I will take one last call because Eddie Kumsin is standing by with Tech Today, and he has all the latest information on tech trends in Ghana and indeed across the world for you in a short while. So we'll take one last caller, if time will allow us. Sorry. Okay, Adam is joining us from Bole Bamboy. Adam, good evening. You are our final caller, please. We have just 30 seconds to wrap up.
Good evening.
Good evening, Adam. Let's hear you. I'm very well, thank you.
I'm watching your program and it is interesting. But the issue is that I want the police command so that if the police itself, the police themselves went and killed, the police officer killed an armed robber. It should be recommended or promoted. Right. So it will send, it will give the police the morale.
Right. Okay.
To do the work
so there should be more deterrence when it comes to dealing with armed robbers, and you are suggesting or going ahead to even suggest that yes, we should take a look at even the shoot to kill approach, and people who even embark on that should be commended for such things. Okay. All right. There's an argument against that, though, a serious argument, but maybe that will be for another day. But Adam, thank you so much for your time on Opposing Views today. This is how we end today's show. There's really not enough time. There's never even enough time, but that's fine. We'll have to call it a day. My name is Kwabena Chenchaini Boateng. It's been another edition of Opposing Views right here on MX24 television. I'll see you soon, hopefully. And while we leave, get your gadgets ready because Eddie Kumsin is standing by with Tech Today. Stay tuned.